Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm gonna show you a bad timing chain failure on a last generation Saab cars. For those of you who don't know, Saab is based on a GM platform to where engine, transmission, the whole drivetrain, everything is from General Motors, and Saab um, builds the body of the car and the way it looks and everything inside. It's their design. So if you own this car, you should consider replacing timing chain at around 60,000 miles. This is apparently a very common issue with these engines. So let me just show you here. I have the timing chain guides roughly laid out how they fit on the car. These are the three guides for the main chain that connects the crankshaft to the two camshafts, the exhaust and intake. This tensioner is one-time use. Once this is activated, it cannot be put back in initial position. This guide tends to crack and break. Actually, this one is cracked. Let me see, where was it? I know it was cracked somewhere. Anyway, it's difficult to make a show with one hand. However, this one breaks and it can possibly throw the timing off. But that is really not that bad if that is the case. The bad part here is this balance shaft chain. And it's actually not the chain, it's a tensioner failure. So as you can see, this tensioner guide is broken to pieces. So what happened here? What caused this guide to break like that? Inside this tensioner, the spring fits inside this tensioner, and this push rod keeps tension on this guide, and the spring is preloaded by being compressed with this cup like so. And the way this cup is retained for the tensioner is by these three punch marks. As you can see, they just punched the aluminum, and those three tabs is what's holding it in place. So as you can see here, this one and this one broke off and caused that cup to come out, and there was nothing anymore to keep tension on the spring, and all the oil also was escaping through the tensioner. So at that point, this tensioner guide was just bouncing on top of the tensioner housing until it finally broke. So once it broke, there is a hole here under the crankshaft sprocket for oil to drain, and through that hole, that tensioner found its way through that hole and found its way inside the oil pan. However, on top of the oil pan, there is a windage tray to prevent any oil from slashing on top of the crankshaft, and also retains the oil inside the oil pan because that's where we want it to be. So this tensioner guide bounced between the spinning crankshaft and the windage tray, found its way to under cylinder number 4, and this is the oil squirter. It squirts oil under cylinder number 4 piston to cool off the face of the piston. So broke off the squirter, and then by cylinder number 4, it's the reluctor wheel for the crankshaft position sensor that it's bolted to the crankshaft. So bends 3 teeth on the crankshaft reluctor wheel, and eventually all the pieces found their way under the windage tray and by the oil pickup tube. So at that point the car was running, and it wasn't really running bad. It was just every now and then it would not start, and it starts funny, not like a normal functioning engine would start. But once it starts, revs, and runs and drives. However, we don't have RPM reading, and like I said, the car is starting intermittently. So if you have a car of these come to you and it doesn't have RPM reading, first thing you should do is remove the crankshaft position sensor and inspect to see if there is any scrape marks on it. If there are scrape marks on the crankshaft position sensor, then don't think twice. It's time to drop the oil pan and see what's going on. So in my case, there were 3 teeth on the reluctor wheel that were bent, and I installed a dial indicator once the oil pan was off, and managed to straighten those 3 teeth. And I painted the crankshaft position sensor and installed it, and manually rotate the engine to see if it's going to be touching the crankshaft position sensor. Made sure that that's not the case, and at that point I went ahead and replaced both timing chains, guides, and tensioners, and everything was fine. However, if you have missing teeth from the reluctor wheel, then the reluctor wheel is bolted onto the crankshaft, and the reluctor wheel is no longer sold separately by General Motors. You can only buy it together with the crankshaft. So as you know, for a crankshaft replacement is never an easy task on an engine. It requires quite a bit of work. And the other thing I wanted to say here is make sure you fish out all the pieces from the oil pan and places that they could possibly rest. And I'm saying that because this cup right here, there is a cavity, the hole for the oil drain under the crankshaft sprocket is right here, and then here is a little cavity in the aluminum to where this was resting. It never made its way down in the oil pan. It was just resting here in this cavity. So I was just feeling, and where it sits, it's not really visible from where I was looking at, and of course it blends in with everything. I was just looking for more pieces of this tensioner, and sure enough I found this resting here. The only things I could not find is where these 2 little tabs went, but I mean, they're so small, they probably washed off when I was draining the oil in the car. However, this car is now up and running, and it's been like that for about a month or 2. Hopefully this guy doesn't have this issue again, because this was not a cheap repair. Also, I noticed the new guides that came. The new guide here had a much thicker plastic insert. I think there is some kind of a revision on these guides. So yeah, that's about it for this video. And thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you like to see more tips like this one. Thank you. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.